All right, gang, welcome, welcome. As people are joining, great to be with everybody tonight. Gosh, Wednesday, December, 17th? Christmas is right around the corner. I cannot believe where this year has gone. It's been a good year, but it's just been a fast one. So, guys, as you join, just be sure and mute so we don't have a bunch of stuff going on. Team, if we can do that as well on the admin side, it'll certainly be helpful. Thank you guys for that. All right, Apprentice Spotlight. I've got my guy Chad Baird with us tonight, and I want to talk about why we do these. There's really three reasons. Number one, for our current members, I think it's something for you guys to look forward to as you guys really continue to grow. That one of these will be in your future, and so that's always fun. Secondly, if you're not a member and you're interested in what we do, then it's kind of us pulling back the curtain a little bit on what we do, why we do it, and really how the systems and processes work, which is always fun. But the main reason that we do this is I feel like it's almost like a graduation moment for the people that we work with. You know, that it's a time of reflection. And I think that the best advice and some of the best and the worst advice that I've ever received was really in the same sentence, which was, really when things are good, it's never as good as you think. And when things are bad, it's never as bad as you think. I found that to be half true, that when things are bad, it's never really as bad as you think. But whenever things are good, I think it's important that we celebrate the wins. That's one thing that I didn't do well early in my career is whenever I would hit a really, really good deal or we would have an amazing month, I would think, oh gosh, it's really, it could be better, and I really should have celebrated the wins more. And so we kind of force people to do that. And Chad and I have had a lot of conversations around that. And it's always fun as well whenever someone starts off as really a community member with us and then really just grows into a great friend, as Chad has with me. So, Chad, man, appreciate you being with us so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Rock and roll with it. So, man, tell everybody about Chad prior to IC, what you got going on, and then I've got a lot of different things I want to go into, but just set the stage.
Sure. Yeah. So I had been doing real estate for about 6 years. 6 years, about 6 years before that. Again, I always make the analogy of was Chip and Joanna all kind of rolled into one. I was a GC. I was a licensed general contractor in San Antonio and did all the design. I did everything, right? Um, and still did all that while working a W-2 job as well. So it was very stressful, a lot of work, visiting job sites every day at the end of the day type deal. But anyway, yeah, spent 6 years doing that. And you know this that the last rehab flip that I did, spent over $200,000 just on the rehab, and made $60,000 over a 6 month period, and it just wiped me out. It was just right when the market was starting to really decline, and it just, boy, it beat me down. And I said, I gotta take a break. It's time to take a pause. I can't. I told my wife, like, I can't continue to do this. This is just, it's not scalable, and this isn't gonna work for me. But
So, what year was that?
I was 20. Was it 23, 22, 22? So it was the end of 22. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
the end of 22, right when the rate started going up and things started to slow down, right at the very end of 22, August, September, October.
Gotcha. So the end of 22. And how were you finding deals then?
So I did it was some through through wholesalers. I would buy from wholesalers.
Okay.
I did my own direct mail, so I bought some through that, some probate, things of that nature. Um, And I tried having cold callers and buying lists and doing all the traditional, ways to find deals here locally.
Gotcha. And at that point, roughly how many deals were you doing per year?
Probably roughly 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you trying to be more consistent with your deal flow than that? And you just found that you couldn't create consistency?
Exactly. Yep. And I was trying to scale. I mean, literally, I had contractors. I was trying to build two teams of subcontractors and whatnot. And I had tried to take on two, three projects at a time and just found that I couldn't do it. And that's when I went to let me just do one big one with a big payday. That didn't work either. And it just, like I said, it was just as much work, if not more.
Gotcha. So for those that have never ran a 200K rehab, and I've done a few of those, but not many myself, what are the challenges that arise around running 200K in rehab on one deal?
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, the amount of subcontractors that we had on the project. I had the pool refinished. I was doing the roof, the foundation. I mean, we touched every single aspect of the house. Um, and again, it comes with all the every little oops. Oh, we found this. Oh, we weren't planning on that. Oh, did you realize this? And the amount of changes and trying to keep the contractors on budget was just an absolute nightmare, especially for me just trying to handle it by myself. It's just it stresses me out thinking about it, you know.
That's funny. So
I
you were still working full time at this point.
I was still working full time.
Okay. And so you spent 200K on that deal. Roughly, what was your construction budget when you started off? Like, what did you think it was going to be?
Yeah, so when I first started it off, so just to kind of give you some roundabout figures, I bought the house for 310.
Okay.
The original ARV was about 550, 560, something mid upper fives, something of that nature. And I had about $125,000 budget at the time. Well,
Wow.
at the very end of 21, rates, not rates, but I mean prices were still,
Yeah.
increasing. So in the 3 months, by the time I bought it and was middle of the rehab, I did the rough ends. I was doing, um, the all the demo and things of that nature. And we were, deciding on just is the minimal amount possible. The value of it shot up to $750,000 by new comps in the area.
Mm.
So that's when I kind of put the pedal to the metal and said, well, shoot, let's get to that 750 buyer. And that all of a sudden the material cost went up, right? I'm doing higher finishes, higher ends. I created an extra bedroom. There was a pool house in the back. I completely renovated that and made it another, complete. It's had a kitchen, bathroom, and everything. I wasn't going to redo that at the time. So it just, with the way the market was going, we decided to just go all in, so to speak. So it almost doubled my rehab budget. And yeah.
Gotcha. So did that house sell fairly quickly once you got it ready?
Fairly quickly for what we were experiencing in 2021, no. Fairly quickly to today's terms, yes,
Yeah.
right? So it was like I said, selling a $750,000 house in San Antonio. I mean, that's in most places. That's the upper price point, right? It's the highest value that I'd ever done at that time.
Yeah, I didn't
And
realize that you made 60 grand on 750 as an
yeah,
exit. So I mean your
well,
margin there was less than 10%.
so we sold it for at seven. I had it on the market at 750, and I had to drop it. I think we ultimately sold it for 660. 660 is what we
Wow.
sold it because I had so much cash tied up in that thing, and I just saw the writing on the walls. It was one of those we got to get it to go. We've got to get this to move. It was August, the end of the summer's coming, all the red flags, rates
Hmm.
kept going up, and I was like, guys, we got to dump it before I lose more, before it gets worse. And then I had an all cash buyer. Guy came in all cash and bought it, so I didn't have to worry about appraisals and any of that stuff, a few repairs, things of that nature. But I was happy. I was happy to get out before you know before it got worse.
So the day of closing was a happy day, not like, oh my gosh, I did all of this and I just made 60 grand. It was like, hey, baby, we got out of that fairly unscathed.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
All right, cool. So a lot of people, man, would have looked at that and said, "Oh gosh, that wasn't worth doing. I'm out. I'm not going to continue forward." Like, what was it about real estate that you just decided, okay, we're going to keep pushing on this thing?
So, so what I did at that time was I took the cash, threw it in my savings account, and I was like, I've got to find a different way. I know that real estate's the answer. It's just not this way. And so that was my kind of aha moment of let me step back, take them, I took a couple months, quite honestly, before I really got back into any kind of real estate and started looking at different programs, different
Okay.
mentorships, and that's when I just started, slowly I don't want to say analyzing, that's the wrong word, but just, I joined a couple groups. I joined a couple groups, flew around the country, went to a couple different ones, and, was just looking for that right group, the right program to help because, like I said, it's doing those local flips like that it just wasn't the answer, what I was looking for. But I
Gotcha.
just knew real estate was the answer. I'd
Yeah.
been in it and I've been around it enough. I knew that it was the real estate's the answer for me. I just had to find the right path, the right process.
Gotcha. Fantastic. So at some point you hear about us somehow, whatever that looked like, and you joined up with us. So I guess tell us about that experience from the time that you joined. What happened?
Sure. So joined, went through the training, did all that, started the PPC. I was fortunate enough that I was able to start PPC within, 45 days or so after joining. I felt comfortable getting PPC. Landed my very first deal in East Texas for a little rancher house. It's, you know, it was that one was inheritance. So the guy had he
Yeah.
inherited the property and just needed to get rid of it. Picked it up. I don't remember the numbers exactly. I just remember the outcome of it. But talked to the guy, never met him, bought it. Private money lenders. I had a lender, was able to get it financed. Um, made some relationships with the local real estate agent. She hooked me up with the local contractor, and the three of us rehabbed this property from my laptop here and turned around and put it on the market. And I mean, that thing sold within 30 to 45 days, very quick turnaround. And I made $40,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. I just spent 3 months, maybe, from start to finish, right? I mean, starting it, rehabbing it, selling it, and never left my office here, my home office, and made $40,000. And it was a $20,000 rehab. So very minimal rehab, and then doubled my investment, which is a little smarter. The 20 rehab and making 40 is a lot better than a $200,000 rehab and making 60. So I'd like those
Well,
kind
we
of,
don't have to dwell on the past, Chad.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've still got a little bit of a twitch, but
I believe that.
yeah. And so that was the very first one. And then it just kind of started to escalate from there, going, okay, wow, boom, grabbed another one, grabbed one in Tennessee. And I started I even did some mobile homes. And they were great little, $40,000 profits. I shouldn't say little, but, just hitting some really good deals.
Okay, cool. So a lot to unpack there. So whenever you started PPC, so for the people that don't understand really what that is, like kind of expound on that. What is that exactly?
Sure. So it's a pay per click. So that's where I have a company that will create a landing page, and as people search for, I need to sell my house. I just inherited a house. How can I sell this? Stop foreclosure, whatever those keywords may be. I have a website that pops up, and they'll fill out a quick form. Here's my name, my number, my email. This is what I'm looking to do, and I reach out to them as soon as they reach out to me.
Gotcha. And was that something that you had done prior to us?
Mm-mm. No, I'd never
Gotcha.
done that before.
How was that different compared to what you'd done in the past in terms of trying to find deals? Because I would bet that most of the people here, their biggest struggle is I can't find deals. Hit me in the chat if that's right. So just give me a yes if you're like, yeah, Brad, I can't find deals. That's my biggest struggle right now. Um, so how was this process different than what you've done in the past in terms of trying to find deals?
Yeah, it's I and I know you've done some direct mails and some cold calling and all that. I've done all that as well, and I have had people call me up many, many, many times and just yell at me for sending them a little yellow postcard that landed in their mailbox, and that they couldn't believe how rude I was, and their home was not for sale. You've got to be kidding me. It's shocking how much effort people will take out of their
Oh,
day
yes.
to call me for that, right? And so starting the PPC, having very warm leads come in, that people that want to talk to you, and help solve a problem. They have an issue. They have some type of challenge that's going on that they're looking for some solutions. So it was a real easy conversation to have for those leads that came in, especially with what you have, the scripts and things of that nature. It was a very easy transition for me to be able to do that. But gosh, the effort to outbound leads is just it's a full-time job just doing that to try to find a needle in a haystack, so having it come in is so much easier, which again,
Okay, and
especially for me.
yeah, well, and with you having a full-time job, you don't have time to go door knock all day,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And
exactly.
guys, it depends on your goals. Like if you want to do one, two, three deals a year, I mean, kind of equate that to, you want to be the blind squirrel finding the acorn every once in a while. Anybody can do that. Okay. Like you can do that networking with wholesalers, realtors, that kind of thing. But if you want to do two or three deals a month, you have to have a process around it. Like it has to be predictable. And it's so much better whenever someone is coming to you asking you to buy something versus direct mailing someone asking them to sell something. Big, big difference. So, Chad, have you ever had a seller yell at you for being on an online search where they searched Sell My House Fast and they found your ad?
Not yet.
Not yet. Hey, maybe one day we'll
Yeah,
have that. And I would love for that to happen because we're really running some ads if we're starting to see that because I've never had that happen either.
yeah.
Guys, I used to send out 70,000 yellow letters a month, and I had a wall of shame in my office where people would mail back. You ever had this happen, Chad, where they would mail you back like they would draw flipping the bird or
Yep.
a nice obscenity on it, or we had one guy we actually had to call the police on because he made a very, very serious threat on the office and told us in grave detail how he was going to end our life. But so you had people mail you back that kind of stuff as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
I
was
always
almost
wondered.
going to the mail. It was almost kind of a game. What do we have in the mail today?
Yeah. 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 Well, I always wondered like when Domino's sends you like a coupon, do you mail them back the same thing? Like I don't get it, but I guess,
Yeah,
I will say people's homes, it is more personal than a
it's more
pizza.
personal.
So you've got that. Cool. Um, Prior to us, how were you funding deals? Was everything private money, hard money? Kind of tell me about that.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, private and hard money. I did a little bit of both. Kind
Okay.
of
Had you
doing.
done anything creative before?
No, no.
Okay. Got it. And so for those that don't understand creative finance, like teach a class for about 15 minutes on what creative finance really is off the cuff.
Deal. It's it's just another exit strategy. It's another way that, I've told you this before, just it continues to add to our efforts and ways that we can close a deal. And it's you start to get to a point where, you can just you start to I want to close more. I should be able to close more of these deals because I have creative as an option. And it's not just a strict, if it's not 70% or less minus, rehab, can't make that kind of offer. And you can burn through leads real quick like that, where when you have the creative financing, um, it just adds a whole nother realm to what you can do for many different reasons, right? Number one, being able to help a person out of the situation that they're in. I've had people just absolutely, thank me, thank just on being able to help them out when they didn't have a lot of options. And then to be able to build some equity. A lot of what I've been able to do is build equity. I've got a good amount of equity that's built. I have cash flow that comes in every month from that equity.
Yep.
So it's a great, you have your cash pops from your wholesales that I might do or a flip, and then at the same time building equity with these, creative financing. Um, and it's a great way to be able to very little money to be able to buy and to acquire a great amount of equity. I've had some deals where it's hundreds of dollars, $1,000 out of pocket, to gain tens of thousands of dollars of equity and cash flow on a monthly basis. So
Well, that
um,
just doesn't sound real, Chad. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Fake news. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
And guys,
Yeah.
by the way, I know Trump is having some type of an announcement. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I know you had your choice of maybe better entertainment, but you guys are here with us, so thank you for that. Let's go back to that first deal when the lead came in. At what point did you know it was a deal?
Um, so, went through the triage. I did the triage and then went to the perfect presentation, right? Going through it, it's, I knew it was a deal. I felt it was a deal by the end of the triage call. That's
Okay.
when I kind of knew. I was like, okay, wait a minute, because I'd already done a little dirty ARV. I kind of had an idea about what it was worth, and when I asked his few questions, and he kind of gave me a number where he was at, I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, geez, that's a pretty good number. Great, I'll give you a call back this afternoon or whatever the time frame was to close it. So I mean, I knew it pretty early on that it was a good deal,
Yeah.
numbers
Yeah.
wise.
So he was motivated.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really easy to talk to. He had a house. His dad was in it. He's like, hey, I just got to get rid of it, and he wanted a little bit of cash to pay off some debt, and so it was just a great, easy conversation. Yes.
Love that. Love that. Guys, whenever a seller starts off with, I've got to get rid of it, we know we're in the right place.
Yeah.
So that we call that a clue in real estate. So Daryl has a question in the chat. And guys, if you have a question, just be sure and drop it in the chat. We'll try to get to things in order. He says, can you explain a little more about creative financing, the process? So can you expound a little bit more on creative financing? Let's talk about maybe a low level deal structure like sub two. So like what is a sub two
Yeah.
deal?
So a sub two deal. Um, Usually, it's for those folks that where a cash deal doesn't work. So, for instance, they don't have that much equity in a property to where we can offer a cash offer that's probably lower than what they owe on a mortgage. So that for me then transitions us to more of a sub two deal where it's like, hey, your existing mortgage of X amount of dollars, it's at 4%, let's say, sometimes lower, but it's at a 4% deal. And I'm able to offer them some cash, some walk away, here's some cash, here's maybe $10,000 to take over the payments on their existing mortgage. So now I can step into their shoes, start making those payments on their behalf. They're able to exit the property with some cash, and then I can take that property and do several different, rent it, owner finance it, short-term rentals, something of that nature. I can start getting some cash flow out of that.
Love that. So do you owe the money on that house when you do that?
No, no. So that's the great part about it is I can walk right into their existing mortgage and utilize their name still on that mortgage, but with our documents and paperwork, we're able to call the mortgage, call the lender, and start, making those payments, go right online and start making payments on their behalf. Um, and like I said, so that mortgage, that loan isn't even in my name. It's not even in my company's name. So it doesn't show up on any kind of debt to income ratio. It's not, coming up as any kind of debt on my name.
Gotcha. So are we asking permission with the bank and saying, Mr. Banker, I'm going to take over this mortgage? Is that okay?
No, no, we don't even talk to them about that at all. They don't have any, I shouldn't say knowledge, but yeah, they don't have any knowledge of it that's changed hands. They just know that I'm now making payments on time, where the seller beforehand was probably having some challenges, and I get them caught up. I start making that payment on time. They're happy that I stepped into those shoes, and they're not a problem any longer.
And that's what I've seen as well. I mean, I've done hundreds of these. I've had four issues with banks. Three of them were reverse mortgages. So if we're doing sub two on a reverse mortgage, know that that could turn into a problem. But by and large, the big box banks, Fargo, City, BOA, I mean, that they don't care about this kind of stuff. Okay.
No.
So Daryl, thanks for the question on that. So you did your first deal, you cleared 40 grand. You didn't see the property. Let's talk about that because a lot of people would be like, man, that is crazy, not seeing a property. How do you buy a house and sell it and never see it? How do you stay out of bad deals doing that?
Oh. Gosh, trust me, that was probably one of the scariest moments. Like, I cannot believe that I'm doing this. I just it just doesn't seem feasible. Um, it's really developing those local relationships with agents, with some folks locally. It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Most people, especially when they have got some interest in it now, right? That agent knew that I was going to be able to utilize her at the end. So she was willing to put a little effort up front. She
Mhm.
had those relationships with local contractors. So I didn't have to go out and find, because I thought I was really going to have to go out and look on Craigslist, and I was going to look on Facebook for all these, just, some guy in a truck, and I'll give him money and he's just going to drive off with it. But once you're able to establish that relationship with some local folks, I mean, it just really wasn't that difficult. I have found personally that the greatest asset is a local real estate agent. And I guarantee we all know there are how many real estate agents in this country. Finding a real estate agent is not a problem, even in the smallest of markets. I can I can find a real estate agent, and they're able to help me out when it comes to a flip with that you know expectation that they'll be getting the listing when it's all said and done. Um,
Gotcha. So they're kind of your eyes and ears. How do you verify condition on a property that you're never going to see?
Sure. I most of the time I start off first by getting pictures, right? The seller, hey, look, do me a favor, go through each room, the outside, send me pictures, send it right to this number I just called you from. I can get text messages here. I again, the vast majority of the time, they're very happy to do so. Well, if it's a little dirt, I'm like, I don't care about your clothes on the floor. I'm not worried about the dishes in the sink. I promise
Right.
you, I'm not judging you on the on how clean it is. I'm just looking at the condition of the home structurally, things of that nature. So I'll have them walk around and do it. And then once we get under contract, then I'll have a local agent go through and she'll do, or maybe an inspector. A lot of times I have inspectors go through, they'll do a report for me. I've had them do FaceTime with me as well, so I can physically see it just outside of pictures. There's a lot of different ways to be able to confirm that condition. And it's, especially with today's technology, phones and everything else, a lot of
Yeah,
face.
makes sense. Have you ever used a home inspection to renegotiate the price?
Absolutely. That's the vast majority of the time. That's
Yeah.
that's and again, and it's not like I tell even the people that work for me, it's not that they're being deceitful, it's that they just don't even know what they don't know. They don't
Mhm.
understand sometimes that there's a
Most of the
little
time.
more.
Some of the time.
Some of the that's some of the time. Yeah, exactly. Well, it certainly comes out when they try to hide something. But yeah, we go in, we do the inspection, and it's enlightening to see how much more stuff that may need to be done. So we're almost, I won't say guaranteed, but um, yeah, using
It's
that.
extremely rare that we don't get 10 grand off based on a home
Yeah,
inspection. So we
yeah.
spend 400, 450 bucks on a home inspection, get 10 grand off. What's the most that you have had the seller reduce their price based on a home inspection ballpark?
That's a good question. I would say probably, gosh, 25, 30 grand comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere around
Makes
25,
sense.
30,000, somewhere around there.
Good investment. Good investment.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do you have one home inspection that just stands out in your mind as just being like the worst one that you were just shocked by the condition?
Um, yeah, so I had I had, yeah, yeah. There was most of the time when people tell me that it just needs to be cleaned out, just clean it out, and this is in pretty good shape. That's usually for me, that's an indication like, okay, what's wrong with it? And I had somebody go through, and I mean, there was mold. There it was just, I can't remember if that was a roof leak or not, but there was definitely a leak. The flooring was all messed up. There was missing a window. There was two windows that were missing. There was just plywood over the windows, uh, you know, and it was just. mean, every time I turned the page, oh, the AC unit was missing. The outside unit had been stolen or something or whatever. They scrapped it for copper. That was missing. And then when I went back and started explaining to him, like, oh well yeah, there's that too. I mean, it was just a laundry list of items that they tried to hide from us. But
Just happy to
again,
forget.
yeah, it's just it's one of those things where just after one or two deals, it was pretty easy to do those remote rehabs because you've got a process to go through and it finds that stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just there's very, very little that could be or is hidden.
Yeah, that makes sense. Guys, once I started jumping states, I realized a couple of things. Number one, the fundamentals of real estate investment remain the same across markets. And as I went wider with my markets, I had more opportunity. I could buy cheaper. I could actually buy more conservatively. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is if a home inspector goes under the house and in the attic and all of that stuff that Brad himself is not going to do if I'm at a house, I'm going to know the condition better than if I was personally there. So at that point, it was just like, why am I so scared of like going out of my personal area? Because there was a time certainly that I felt like Chad did on the front end, like, what are y'all talking about? Buy and sell a house you've never seen. So Tanner has a question based on renegotiation. Do you get them to drop the price voluntarily, or how do you negotiate after that inspection? How do you get a price reduction there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually they're expecting, I let them know that they were there. They know that the inspection has come through. They're very anxious to get that report and to hear about
Mhm.
it. So what did you hear? So what's going on? What did you get? I should get that back tomorrow morning or what have you. So, um, what I'll do is I'll kind of go through the report and I'm very cognizant of I'm not trying to tell them that they were being deceitful. I'm like, look, you probably didn't know this. I know that you told me a lot of, what you knew it needed. But we also found this. So we see here that, your roof looks like it's about 20, 25 years old. You probably haven't been up there since you had that roof put on. And you can start to just kind of go through a few things that outside of what they had mentioned. We did notice too that your AC unit, that's another unit that's 20 years old. That's something we're going to have to replace. So once I just kind of start listing some of those things um, to kind of bring to their attention, for me at that point, I said, so knowing what you know now is 50,000 the least you'll take, or whatever that number may be. And nine times out of ten, they're like, "Well, what do you think?" And I usually have a number already in my head. I know I need to drop it 10, $15,000, whatever that number may be. And I'll usually probably just go a little deeper than that, try to start it off a little lower. And I've had some people go, "Oh, sure, okay, yeah, 20,000, or 15,000 or 10,000," and I needed five. But for the most
Mhm.
part, the vast majority of them, they know more's coming. They when they have the wiggle room, let's say, to drop, it's just they know there's more to it.
Love that. So, Chad and many of my people that are here know that in my world, we never give a price, we never make an offer ever. So that means that we have reverse negotiation where the seller really negotiates with themselves. Um, how how has it been from the onset, really going through a different process of negotiation? And were you surprised at how we do things within that?
Absolutely, and I laugh just because that was one of the key factors for me was seeing how that process is done is so different. It's just so different. Reading some different books and different strategies, holding frame. I know we're going off track a little bit there, but
That's okay.
seeing how that process is done, it stands out from every other investor that's trying to buy a property, throwing out numbers. And having that conversation with the seller is so different than just making offers. Just
So
it's just
different how expand on that because I know a lot of people are gonna. be in the
Yeah,
chat asking about that.
absolutely. And so, you know, as you're well aware, I just brought an acquisitions manager on, and she comes from the world she's done in the past, just make offers, make offers, make offers. And she's now going through our training. She's getting, educated on how to do this process versus what she's been trained with before. And I had the conversation with her today. The the and again, and I know I'm using terms that maybe not everyone understands, but holding frame, right? Meaning that I'm not desperate to buy the property. I'm the prize. We are the prize. They want to sell to me. So having that conversation with them, bringing them to me and having them want to sell to me is the process of this, just that initial phone call with them of not making offers, right? And I'm asking the right questions. We're going over the repairs, what kind of things. So tell me more about this. Tell me more about that. Haven't even gotten to a number. And we're 5, 10 minutes into a conversation, and I'll have, well, what's your number? It's a great question. So why don't you tell me da 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 da, and I'll kind of steer them to another. So being able to control that conversation with the sellers and having the process of when you get to the end of that conversation of what is it that you're looking to walk away with, it's so different because now, like you said, they're negotiating with themselves, and I'm
Mhm.
just kind of leading them down that path. It's it's just it's so different. I can't keep, I can't say that enough.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen as well. And I also see that people that have had some semblance of success prior to us making offers, they often revert back to making
Mhm.
offers. Guys, there's three reasons why we don't make offers. Okay, hit me in the chat if you think you want to take a stab at why we don't make offers, and if you hit it, we'll send you a copy of the book "Buy Houses and Retire." We'll have fun with this. So hit me in the chat. What is one reason why we would not want to make offers? And we'll have a good conversation around this if you guys are open for it. Okay, hit me in the chat. What's one reason why we don't make offers? Okay, Ben got the first one. It can be shopped. Okay, we'll give it to both Ben and Daryl, but you guys are on the inside though. Y'all are with us, so y'all already know. But we'll go ahead and give you the book anyway. So that's cool. Chris says giving up too much. Expound on that, Chris. I want to make sure I understand what you're talking about there. So David has a good question. How do you respond when a seller digs in their heels and won't give a number?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a great question. So two tactics really, right? Number one, if they won't give a number, they're not that motivated. That's
Correct.
that's the number one thing. Like, well, then you're not that motivated to sell it. Number two, I will usually just kind of break it down with, I'll try to break it with a little bit of a humor. I'm like, great, well, then I'll start at $1. How about we'll go there? And, that usually gets a little chuckle. I'll get a little chuckle out of it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the main thing is they're not motivated.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, I'll tell you guys a quick story. The last house that I personally bought in person myself was in 2018, I believe. And the guy already had four offers and he was chasing me around the house saying, "What's your offer? What's your offer? What's your offer?" Well, John, I don't really have a number in mind. So let me ask this. So you shelve it, you push it back. Well, Brad, what's your offer? Well, I've been buying houses a long time. And in the time that I've been buying houses, what I've learned is that when a seller needs to sell, they know what they want. So let me ask, how much are you hoping for? Right. And now I put it back on them. And because I never made an offer, I walked out with a purchase agreement. Okay. And I actually bought it cheaper than what the other offers were. And that's a whole different level of negotiation when you can go to war with higher offers and be in a position to win. Okay.
Yep.
Because you can throw a lot of doubt on the other offers. That's like next level negotiation. So I'm sure it's in the chat. We'll have to figure out. I'm sure James can do this for me or KV, Caitlin Vasquez. On the team. So there's three reasons. Number one, an offer is a commodity to shop. I know Ben and Daryl got that. Number two, a seller's price is often lower than what your offer would be. So how do you go into a situation where you have a seller and be at the razor's edge of not being more than what they would accept, but not being less to alienate the person? You guys see that? See, I was taught in the business, you need to make an offer so low that you duck when you say it. That didn't sound like a very good plan to me. Okay. I don't like ducking, thinking somebody's going to try to hit me. And the problem was, I had a situation pretty early in my career during the Great Recession. There was a husband, wife, and it was exactly this time of year, guys, now that I think about it, because the Christmas tree was there. There were two kids playing under the Christmas tree. We were at the breakfast table. Nice house, $300,000 house, which was a heck of a house back then in this area of Nashville. And I noticed that there were no presents under the tree. Okay. And the husband was an engineer. He'd been out of work over 6 months. They were 4 or so months behind, and they were facing foreclosure in a couple of weeks. Okay. She was a school teacher, and my wife was a school teacher, and I didn't want her to feel like it was a weird situation. And I was hoping maybe she didn't know my wife because here they are telling me their personal info, and I didn't want her to be embarrassed. And here I am. I'm supposed to lowball them. Here the man is extremely defeated. He did all the right things. He went to college, became an engineer, went corporate, and he just got caught up in the system that didn't serve him, right? The wife was, I mean, I just couldn't do it, and I had to find a way. Well, what do you need? Is effectively what it boils down to, and it's not an us versus them. It's we're on the same side of the table trying to figure it out. You guys see that? So we can do a negotiation sequence that is is better for us and better for them. Okay, so that's a second reason. Oftentimes the seller's price will be lower. Chad, have you bought property lower than what you would have offered?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Give me an example.
Yeah, it just so a very recent one that I did in Tennessee, and I in my head I had about $100,000 purchase price. I was like, if I can get this thing below 100, I'm in good shape.
Okay.
And going through the questions and like you just said too, there were other offers higher than what she gave to me, and she's like, look, if I can just get 75,000, I would I just we'd be done with this. 75,000. Okay, so 75,000. And then I did ask him, like, so I mean that's the least you would take? Yeah. No, 75,000 is the least we would take. Okay. So if I can get you that contract today, you sell me the house. If I get you 75,000, you sell me the house today? Yes, absolutely. Great. What's your email? Blah 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 blah. And went through. I mean, but like I said, in my head, I knew 100,000 was still a good number.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she came out 75, and I was like, oh gosh, I was trying to contain my excitement. You know?
Yeah. So that's 25K on one deal, additional profit. Okay. How much do you think you're saving if you had to put a number to it per year by not making offers at this point?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That
Never
might
thought
be a
of-
tough question.
That's a tough one. I think it's probably easier for me to say that on every deal, the majority of deals, I'd say just on average, we're probably getting another five to $10,000 easily, just on average.
Okay.
Um, and with doing multiple deals a month, I mean, I'm probably in the six figures easily per year.
Yeah. Well, no doubt. No doubt. I was thinking probably two, 300 grand in additional profit
Yeah,
just
exactly.
by,
I was thinking 150 to
yeah.
200
Yeah.
probably,
Okay.
but I'm a little more conservative. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Cool, 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 cool. And guys, I know we have some questions in the chat. I'm going to absolutely get to those probably near the end. So tell me about the business now, man. I mean, I know
Mhm.
that you started off, it was, you got the first deal, you started to do more ads. Tell me about the business today.
Sure. Yeah. Um, it's been a for me, again, working a full-time W-2 as well. It's been a slow grind. And I shouldn't say that, but I mean I've been extremely blessed. But this last year, every bit of profit that I've made has gone right back into the business, expanding on marketing, spending a lot more on the marketing budget. I just hired my fourth employee, so I have four employees now. Yeah, and so shout out to my team, Luis and Jax. They're probably watching as well. So shout out to my folks, Kristen and Brittany also. So everybody, it's great. We've got a great little team that we've put together, and yeah, for the first time, I'm now managing people and not working on every single deal. And it's pretty powerful to be able to kind of stand back and watch a deal go through uh, the process. I'm still, monitoring it obviously currently, but to see the team work on it, to see them communicate, negotiate, and get it to the closing table is it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Chad, tell me about the first deal that you got under contract that you didn't personally do.
Oh, let's see. Gosh, that was earlier this year, and Luis had done that.
I
And
remember. I don't remember
yeah,
the numbers, but I remember.
yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly which one that was. It's been a few of them now at this point, but I just remember um, scared, right? I mean, anytime I have to, I'm a control freak kind of guy, so, and I've been doing it myself for so many years. So handing those reins over is, it was a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust. But I knew I had trained and taught them well. They've been through the program as well. So I knew they had the skill set to do it. And man, when he came back, he was like, he just kind of sent me a message like, here's the numbers, here's this, kind of. I'm like, looks good, lock it up. Boom, a couple hours later, it's like, all right, here's the contract. And I was like, okay, great. And now handing it over to the rest of the team to do it, it's exciting.
How did that feel, man? Because I remember the first time that I had somebody buy a house for me and I was terrified. But
Oh,
how's that for you?
it absolutely terrified. I can tell you, I was just sitting there waiting for him to call me back, wait for him to tell me how the numbers are, how the deal's going. I wasn't very productive, let's put it
Yeah.
that way, while I was waiting for him to to contact me or let me know that he did get it under contract, because there was no guarantee at that time, what have you. Um, so it was extremely scary. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it
Yeah.
was nerve-wracking, but at the same time, um, it was a huge boost to my confidence, knowing that wow, I've been able to put somebody else in this place to do this. It was eye-opening, going, man, wait a minute. Okay, I don't have to do all this. I can rely on other people and to help and to grow what I'm doing. So it was empowering at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Switching gears, let's talk about the job ban because I know you're still working full time, and I think a lot of people would say I can't do this business and be a full time employee. What say you?
What's that?
What do you say about that?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. You know, look, is it easy? No. But is it doable? Absolutely. It's the great thing about with again the PPC leads coming in. Um, I was able to do it during lunch. I'd do it during breaks. I'd go, after work. There was all these times that I found that I was able to take that 10, 15 minutes to talk to a seller, to talk
Hmm.
to a contractor, to talk to somebody. Times on the weekends, right? Weekends, the same way with the sellers and the buyers and the contractors and whatnot, having those conversations on the weekends. It's it, they're not 8 to 5, and so I found it pretty easy, honestly, to talk to the sellers outside of their normal business hours, which were outside of mine. So it's certainly very, very doable. So much is done, like I said, from our phones and our laptops now. You got software right there on your phone. Look, instead of watching TikTok or YouTube on your phone at, break, I'm doing some different text messages or making some phone calls, right? So the accessibility of it, it's all there at our fingertips.
Yeah, guys, if you think you don't have the time, it's probably because you have a misconception of the process.
Hmm.
And if you were door knocking, trying to find something, or doing a ton of direct mail where you have 120 phone calls for every deal, yeah, maybe you don't have the time for that. But I mean, Chad, do you know roughly how many leads it takes you to buy a house right now?
Right now, I think I'm averaging about every 50. 15, 12 to 15-ish,
Okay.
right about
Yeah,
there.
that's exactly what we see is 10 to 15. We're usually buying something. And what would you say your average equity position per deal is, ballpark?
Sure. Well, for me, as you are well aware, I've transitioned more to wholesaling. So
Hmm.
I'm turning, so I'm taking a little smaller equity position, a little smaller profit. Um, but most of those are in the 15 to $20,000 range right now.
Gotcha. So 15 to 20K wholesale, meaning there's still some meat left on the bone for the next person, but you're just churning and burning and having a really tight cash conversion cycle. So that
Exactly.
makes sense. Cool,
Yeah,
cool,
and I
cool.
flip some. Like I said, if it's deep enough, I'll certainly buy them and flip them.
Yeah. What's been your favorite deal since working with us?
Hmm. Favorite deal. Well, and I'll tell you, it's funny when you asked that. The first thing that came to mind was the people that I've helped. I
Yeah,
know that sounds
and that
crazy.
can make it. Yeah, that can
And
make it.
I'm thinking back to the people that have contacted me even after we've closed to just say thank you and how much they appreciated it. So that's the first thing that came to mind. I'm just being very transparent
Love
there,
that.
very honest. I mean, it was that the deal for like a deal structure. I was able to help a gentleman out in West Texas on a property, bought it sub two, gave him $20,000 walk away, and I had $110,000 in equity. And cash flows 750 a month ish, 800 bucks a month. I think that one was something and that was my first one. That was my first sub two wrap. So I turned around and owner financed that to somebody that came in. And those folks late the people that came in, it was right around this holiday, it was right around the holidays. And she was just so happy. She was in a home that she owned for the holidays. And they were just contacting me even after we closed again. This is for the owners now, the new buyers. So that was a really great deal. Um, the most recent one is that flip that I've got in Tyler as well. That's bought it for 170, literally 10,000, $9,000, 9,000 some odd dollars in rehab, a painted and carpet,
Hmm.
and it's on the market now for 310, which is
Okay,
under
so 180 in, going exiting at 310.
which is under the market value. It's valued at 325. I'm just deciding to go lower because of with the way things are right now to
Yeah,
you know
makes
hopefully move a
sense.
little bit quicker. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And I'm getting pinged. I forgot that part of my job is to tell you guys to book a call. If you guys want help doing what Chad's doing, then KV just posted the link in the chat. And so do that, and we'll have a good conversation about your situation, where you're hoping to go. If we feel like we can help, then we'll talk about what working together really looks like within that. James had a question in the chat. What's the most and least leads you have received in one day? I can go ahead and tell you the least is zero.
Yeah.
What's the most amount of leads? And we don't really look at it as like lead flow because we just don't need a lot of sellers to buy a house. But what do you think that would be?
I think probably for me, probably 6 or 7, something like that in
Cool.
one
Yeah.
day.
Fantastic. So I'm going to wind it down and get to questions. But last question for me, man. Like, what do you see next? Well, like, what does 2026 look like for Chad?
Yeah, it's funny. So I was sitting here doing my goals for 26. I was just sitting here writing them down,
Yeah.
and it's 2026 is going to be fantastic. We built a little team. Um, I plan to really just escalate, increase the ad spend. I'll double it by the time January, the end of January, February. Um, and I'm looking to get to by February, March, doing 12 to 15 deals a month.
Boom.
That's really where 12 to 15 contracts a month is where I'll be. And I'll hit seven figures this year, multiple seven figures, I hope.
100%. 100%. Does that sound crazy? Just hearing it roll off the tongue the way it does.
It's hard to say, I'll be honest with you. It's
Yeah.
hard to say it. Um, Seeing where I've come, what I've done, and like I said, just from my first little flip, scared as anything to spend money on PPC. Oh my gosh, is this going to work? All the doubt and looking back at it now, kind of like we spoke about the other day, I mean, taking that next step, it's a little scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little scary being able to support and handle that, and
Yep.
still working my W-2. Don't forget, I'm still working a W-2 and looking to do 12 to 15 deals a month is it's scary. I'm not gonna lie, but I know I can do it. I know we can do it, and it's just unbelievable to even imagine that I could have said that even 6 months ago, honestly, 9 months ago, a year.
Love that. Love that for sure. All right. I'm behind on my questions. Mel and Conchetta, good to see you guys. They say, how do you negotiate on newer homes with very few repairs?
So there's again, when there's very little equity, there's no equity in those. Those are the creative deals. That's where we're getting creative. That's a sub 2 all day long. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I mean, quite honestly, right? It
Hmm.
really depends on the market, the neighborhood. Um, I personally have found it a little bit more difficult sometimes in neighborhoods that are still being built. It's hard to compete um,
Yes.
with
Always tough.
builders, so that's a little bit more difficult. But 2, 3 years old, the building's done in the neighborhood, then yeah, we can usually make this work.
Cool. How many states are you buying in if you know?
Mm, we're marketing in about, I'd say 25 to 30.
Okay. So really wide. John says, going back to deal structure, how about bringing their mortgage current, I assume the seller's mortgage current, having them move out and working an equity split with the seller? What do you think about that?
I have not done that. Um, but that would probably be something a little closer to like innovation. I would
Yeah, it sounds like it.
that where I could possibly give them part of that. So for me, in all honesty, I like to give them a set number. And look, you're going to get X amount of dollars on the walk. When we close on this, I just went under contract with one in Florida, where she's going to get 300,000. It's worth 370 as is today.
Mhm.
And I flat out, I mean, she knows. Like I told her, I was like, I need 3 to 4 months, and anything I'm going to take on that risk to move it, and anything above 300 is mine. And I didn't say it just like that, but I'm just giving you a synopsis of it. And she's like,
Yeah, don't tell all of our negotiation secrets, Chad. That was so smooth that everybody's going to take it and run with it.
right, exactly. Yeah. So
So,
yeah,
John, I've
right.
only seen that work well one time, and that was Dave and Olpin that are here tonight, and they're seven-figure people with me. But I was telling them, please don't do this, please don't do it, and it worked out fine. But I just see that as being just fraught with all freaking kinds of problems.
A lot of times
David's
too, Brad, they feel like they have some say in it, and then it becomes very
correct.
challenging for that. It's
Yeah.
that's it's just like,
Well, even with Dave and Olpin, they wanted to pick the realtor. And I was like, oh gosh, this is getting out of control. Because then, they want well, I don't like the color alabaster. I like agreeable gray. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? And then you've got a partner. It's just like,
yeah.
it's just, it by and large, not good. Uh, David says, and going back to negotiation, how do you respond when the seller's number is too high?
How do I respond?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's you can. So again, without giving away all of the secret sauce, you're reminding them of what we're providing. Okay, so for instance, I just had a lady that sometimes she wants market value. I told her I'm not the answer. I
Yeah.
said, I just this isn't going to work. She wanted it's worth 300. She wants 295. And so first of all, like I said, what I'll do is I offer, like, again, we're closing on your time frame. You want us to close in 3 weeks. I'm closing in 3 weeks. We're taking care of all the repairs. We're there's no warranty you need to give us, right? I mean, I'm taking care of everything that you're asking for here. Is that the least you're able to do, or et cetera, et cetera? So
Yep.
just continue to remind them about that. And then, like I said, in other times I'll offer them. I told this lady too, it's free and clear. I said, she needed $200,000 real quick. And I said, you ought to just go get a loan against it and then put it on the market and sell it because you're not in a big rush.
Yep.
Just go pull your equity out and then go sell it. So I just offered her a different solution. She didn't
Yep.
want that either. She just wanted the 295,000. But
Well, and guys, and this is a good point. Whenever you have sellers coming to you that have to sell, you don't have to chase them, and that goes back to frame, but you can always tell someone like, hey, it sounds like you just need to list it with a realtor. And
yeah,
then it's not like you're telling them something that they don't know is a potential solution. They've already decided that that's probably not what they want to do. And in the event that it is best for them and I'm telling them that they need to go and do that and they do it, great for them. I was never going to buy that house anyway. Okay.
yeah,
But for the people that are not wanting to do that and list it with a realtor, they're going to tell you, well, Brad, I don't want to do that because I don't want people going through the house. I want a cash sale. I don't want to go through inspections. I don't want appraisals. Like they're going to give you all the reasons why they don't want to do that. And now they're in an emotional state to be that your status is elevated and they're ready to negotiate. You guys see that? So like it's just it's okay to push people away.
yeah.
Fantastic. James says, how do you decide your target markets as far as the states?
I'm usually looking at states that are a little more investor friendly. That some of them have some rules and regulations that aren't very investor friendly, so I kind of stay away from those. I'm also looking for states and metroplexes that are on the rise. If I see a decline in population, if I see um, job growth is declining, if costs are just like for instance, there's some coastal states that have just gone a little, insurance costs too much. It's very difficult for the average person to afford those homes. I just kind of stay away from most of those markets.
Yeah. Chad, is there any state that you would not do a deal at any cost?
Gosh, no.
Yeah. Anything works at a price, guys. Okay.
Everything.
I'm not in love with New York or California, but I bought in New York. I haven't bought in California that I'm aware of, but I could have missed one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that. What's it like having to develop a team every time you buy a house? What's that look like?
It's really not that difficult. Like I was saying a little earlier, I mean, I can make two or three phone calls. I find the agent that's willing to work with an investor,
Yep.
someone that has some local contacts, and I'm very upfront with them. Like, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. Is this something you're interested in helping me with? I will need some eyes and ears. I'm not asking you to manage the contractors and to be out there daily, but I will need your help going by there once in a while to verify things are getting done and just to help, see this to the end. And the absolute majority, 75-80% of them are very willing to work with us.
Cool. Joshua has a very interesting question. Why does every pay-per-click lead not convert into a deal? Aren't all of them highly motivated sellers?
Yeah, they are usually right. They're pretty highly motivated, but they're not always reasonable. Might be a better term to use. Like I said, like that lady that called the other day, she's motivated. She needs the cash. She's just extremely unwilling to move off of where she wants, where she needs, or it's worth 300, she wants 295, and so it's just not every one of them I want either. There's some deals that
Gotcha.
I don't want that deal. And it's to be in a position knowing that I don't have to buy it is powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, you'll get the best deals in two positions in your career. Number one, when you don't have any money. Okay, so a lot of people feel like, oh gosh, I don't have tons of cash. That's an impediment, and it's really not. You'll get your best deals whenever you don't have the ability to spend cash because you don't have it as an option. Where I've had people come in that have 2, 3 million in cash, and I tell them their biggest challenge is going to be their capital position. And what they think I mean by that is that they don't have enough cash. And what I mean by that is you have too much cash. So all you want to do is swing the cash hammer at everything, right? And I've told many people, keep your cash out of real estate. Okay, do not put money into deals, right? I'm not going to point anybody out on this call, but I see a few of y'all. But that's kind of that. David said, can you please share some of your details around creating your inbound marketing system? Like, how many hours did you spend designing your site? How many hours did you spend figuring out the markets? How many hours did you spend setting up the Google ads and all of that? What did that look like?
Oh, geez. So we'll kind of start with the CRM. You know, I don't recreate the wheel here. I've this stuff's already done out there. There's PPC managers. It does not take long at all. I think my hardest part about starting the PPC was I needed a landing page, and what do I want that website to say? And thankfully, I already owned a couple. I had a couple websites I bought many years ago, and I was like, I'll just use one of these. Um, but it's just. So yes, what markets I want to go after, I spent some time on that. I spent a few hours. I spent half a day probably on a Sunday trying to figure out what markets I want to go after, what population size, what area, and I put a little list together with a little AI help. Not a big deal. Um, I've got a CRM tool that was already built out. I spent a few $100 for somebody to just mirror what they had done. I'm like, look, I'll give you a couple $100. Just, I want what you created and throw it in here. And that was done. It's, a few hours here, a few hours there, really, honestly. It's not nothing too challenging.
Yeah. And the short answer is all of that's done for you. I've personally spent 3 million on Google Ads in the past like 5, 6 years. And so we have data that other people don't have. And so we cut and paste what's working into a new person's account. And that's what allows us to really hit the ground running. And I mean, like as an example, I think I've got Jay Tenenbaum on the call who's been running ads for like 2 weeks and has two deals at this point. One of them is a $170,000 net deal as is.
Jeez.
He's out of Scottsdale, so he's running ads. One of those was in Hawaii. The big deal was in Hawaii, and I can't remember what the other deal was. But all that to say, like things work very quickly whenever you know what to do. But at the end of the day, we have to be in a position where we're not begging people to sell us a house, with a handwritten yellow letter. Guys, whoever's ran direct mail, Arkansas, fantastic. Thanks for that, Jay. Um, I've
Arkansas,
had so many.
Hawaii. you know?
Well, one was in Hawaii. One was in Hawaii. I know it was in Hawaii. He sent me the email, but I couldn't remember what the other deal was. So, guys, I've had so many conversations with sweet little old ladies where the conversation goes a little bit like this: "Hello, Brad. I got your letter about your interest in buying my house. I don't think I'll sell today, but thank you. I'll keep this letter in case I do decide to sell. You have a sweet day." I've had that conversation many times and it's a lovely conversation, but it's like, this is exactly wrong. I was not handwriting you a letter when I had coffee this morning, but we used to actually put coffee into a spray bottle and spray the letters down. So it looked like we had just done that. And so we get the open rate up. But guys, at the end of the day, we have to be in a position where people have to sell and they're reaching out for a solution. Okay. There's no better place to be than that. As we wind down, Chad, any advice for newer investors or anything you want to cover we haven't covered, man?
Sure. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, I think it's going to be April, be 3 years with you in the group. Um, don't give up, right? I mean,
100%.
it's do not stop. You just never know the next deal, the next lead tomorrow that comes in. There's many times, guys, where I've been beaten down. I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm this, and you go through 7, 8, 9 leads. I'm like, gosh, all these are crap. And then boom, the 10th one comes in, and it's a great $60,000 instant cash deal, whatnot. It just rejuvenates you like, oh, heck yeah, now I know. You're back in it. Um, just don't quit, don't stop. I'm telling you, it's there. You can do it. Again, everyone's goal is different. And I honestly, where I'm at today was not my goal 2 years ago. I was just looking to do a few deals a year, whatever it may have been, whatnot. And as it continued to grow, my goals have continued to expand as well. So it's just by just staying with it, keeping the faith and
Love that, man.
group.
Side note, man, tell us about the house in Dallas.
So supposed to close on it tomorrow. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So we're closing on that tomorrow. Heading up to Dallas on Friday. Spending the weekend up there with my wife, and so yeah, I'm excited. I
It's
wish it
exciting
was
times,
a
man.
little better golfing weather this time of year because it's in a golf community. So I wouldn't mind playing around a golf in my new neighborhood. But
Well, you have to, man, and go for a nice run. Chad is an avid runner. He's a better runner than I am, and that's not saying a whole lot, but he's actually pretty good, and I'm less than terrible. But the reason I bring that up is we have a roundtable event here. I'm in my conference room in Watercolor, Florida, and we were right next door at Seaside, Florida. If anybody's been down here to the 30A corridor, that's really my hometown at this point. I've been here a year and a half, originally from Nashville. But we were having a conversation, me and Chad were, before the event, and he's like, "Man, I got a house under contract there in Dallas," and we've been talking about him moving to Dallas for
oh
probably almost the entire time, a couple of years.
yeah.
And he showed me this house, and it's just freaking beautiful. And I was telling the team about it. I was so excited about this. So love that,
Well,
man.
and you remember too, if you remember too, right? I had told you what my goal was. And I was like, I want to buy this type of house, this, this area, this value. And then things I was like, oh, maybe I probably can't. I don't know. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
but boom, it all worked out. And I set that goal and I was able to hit it. So
That's exciting, man. That's
excited.
exciting. Well, I'm looking forward to 2026. I'm sure it's going to be a great year. 2025 has been a great year, and I'm looking forward to it, man. So, Chad, thanks so much for being with us tonight. I know that this was super helpful for a lot of people.
I hope so.
We're even on the YouTube. Can you believe it? We went live on the YouTube, and we're streaming there too to a few thousand people. So we're
And
getting
it sounds like
famous,
we had some
Chad. We're getting
competition
famous.
tonight, so I'll take it.
That's man, don't put me in that, man. I don't know about that, but cool. Thanks again, dude. Appreciate you. Whatever we can do to help you, let us know for the Apprentice group. Appreciate you guys being with us. Dan Brooks, see you and Jen soon on a support call. I hope. I see you over there in the chat. Guys, if we can help you, you want these kinds of results, hit us in the chat. We've got the strategy session link there. I thank you guys for being with us. We'll call it a night. Thank you all.
Cool. See ya.